Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew Rogers. I'm Randy Carricker, and we've got quite a show coming up for you. St. Louis University stays red hot. Plus, we're going to visit with our buddy Greg Amsinger of MLB Network.
Cannot wait for that.
He'll join us in studio, and of course, later on in the show, we're going to do story time with Uncle Randy. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And we'll start with the Blues. If Joel Hofer truly has established himself as the Blues' #1 goalie moving forward, and his play since the opening month suggests that he has, it forces a difficult but unavoidable question about Jordan Binnington's timeline here with the Blues. Binnington's contract, age, and remaining league-wide reputation still carry value, but for how long? He's under contract for a couple more years. The longer the Blues wait, the more they risk diminishing returns or an awkward, expensive tandem that slows the transition. And if they trade Binnington and Hofer gets hurt, do the Blues have a goalie that could step in for a 10-game stretch if they have any hopes at all in the next several years of winning? It's a really tough question for Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen to answer.
Yeah, especially if you have two essential #1s on your team, and then you throw in just a backup that might have a lot of promise, might not fit the mark the Blues need him to at that moment in time in the schedule. But if the Blues are going to move on from Binnington, here's exactly what you do. You go into the Olympics without trading Binnington. You watch Binnington tear it up for Team Canada, probably win another medal for the country of Canada, and then after that, in that week that you have before the deadline ends, you trade him.
And here's one of the problems that the Blues run into as well. The two players that are most invested in the St. Louis community on that team right now are Colton Parayko and Jordan Binnington. Binnington is all about St. Louis. He loves the town, and it would crush him to leave the Blues. And I'm sure that's something that the Blues have to think about is, do you want to trade people that are really invested in your community in addition to your team, walking out the door and trading them? Because players talk to each other and they say, okay, Binnington did all he did for the Blues and he's always there during the summer. Is he going to do it to me if I go there too? And so I think the Blues have to concern themselves with something like that.
And we know how important community is, and you know especially that going to the Hall of Fame on Monday and just seeing how many of the former legends that used to wear the blue note still live in St. Louis today.
That being said, they did fire John Kelly.
That is true.
The Billikens just keep rolling with their win over Fordham. They're 16-1 and unbeaten in the A-10 heading into the weekend game against Richmond. If net rankings mean anything, SLU should dominate the A-10. While the Billikens are ranked 24th in the country in net rankings, the next teams from the A-10 are number 56 VCU, which the Bills already defeated on their home floor, number 62 George Washington, and number 66 George Mason. The Bills can play with most of the teams in college basketball. Other basketball, Mizzou handled Auburn 84-74. They continue to do well in the SEC. The Tiger defense continues to improve. Auburn shooting just 41% from the floor. And Illinois is so workmanlike. The 13th ranked Illini took on Northwestern and hammered them 79-68.
The one thing that I love about all three of these teams is they don't have one 20-point scorer on their team. They have guys that range from 14 all the way down to 10, but they have 3 to 4 of those guys on their teams, and that's what makes them so special, especially SLU. They've got it all working right now. You just look at the numbers they're putting up, and it's really hard to lose basketball games when you shoot 50% from the field. They've done that in 7 of their last 10 games. This SLU team is so dangerous that it's almost an afterthought at this point that they would miss the NCAA tournament.
A big story unfolding in the NCAA. Multiple players named in a federal indictment accusing players of point shaving and game fixing. Players from about 15 schools, including St. Louis U, are included. Brad Ezewiro was the Billiken that was named in the indictment. We don't know yet how serious these charges are, but when you get your name in an FBI indictment, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, just don't do it. Guys, what are you doing? In the world where you can track everything, and there is so much documentation, even in your own text messages, stay away from all of that gambling nonsense until you are far gone from your college days.
Baseball, Philly starter Ranger Suarez got $26 million a year from the Boston Red Sox. It's nothing compared to what reports say Kyle Tucker was offered by the Mets. As he field calls from the Mets and Blue Jays, the top free agent available has been offered a short-term deal by the Mets that's believed to be worth $50 million a season. Sources telling ESPN's Jesse Rogers, even with a fractured hand and calf strain slowing him in the second half, Tucker remains in rare air. One of the two hitters in baseball alongside Juan Soto to put a 1-to-1 strikeout ratio with slugging percentage that's better than 500. I'll be interested to see, though, if he gets that $50 million a year.
You know, if the Phillies didn't have Nick Castellanos on their roster and they weren't on lock on giving that man all that money still left in that contract, Kyle Tucker would make a lot of sense in Philadelphia. You put him out in right field and you say, hey, man, there's a short field now for you to hit balls to your pull side, your favorite side to do it. That's why I think a lot of teams are kind of eyeing him up as, hey, he can be a really special player. They saw what he did in Houston batting cleanup. They saw what he did in the first half of the season with the Cubs before he was battling those injuries. He can be a really solid hitter and arguably one of the best hitters in all of baseball.
I still wonder, though, if you give him a higher AAV than Ohtani and Soto. He's a really good player, and I know that it's the next guy rather than the best guy that gets the contract. I think that Kyle Tucker's a great player. I don't think he's a $50 million a year player.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I do like the thought process, though, from teams now to say, hey, maybe let's not commit for 13, 14 years and keep it a little bit smaller, even if we have to pay a little bit more up front.
Teams have no trouble doing that. Agents do. College football, as the transfer portal window hits its final days, Mizzou isn't patching holes. They're rebuilding a nearly empty cornerback room with power conference transfers from Oregon and Michigan, all while acquiring experience, upside, and depth for next season. With 3 quarterbacks, 3 new corners expected to compete immediately, a new linebacker core, a defense that lost almost all of its top players, feels like a reset because it is. So this is the blueprint for how programs are going to operate. Andrew, we aren't going to have football programs anymore. We're just going to have teams year to year. It's going to be like AAU.
Right. Yeah, and I love what Eli Drinkwitz and the rest of them in that room did in order to refill the roster and make it the best that it could be. I was actually shocked when they went out to get the UConn transfer quarterback just to add another body to the room and make that as competitive as it can get. Drink knows that, hey, this is where we are right now. We might be idling and we need to find a way to take a step forward. He's not afraid to bring in players to make every position a competition so that you can put the best player forward.
And I think what's going to happen here is that high school players are going to wind up going to the Lindenwoods and the SEMOs of the world. Those schools are going to develop the really good players, and we won't even have, unless they're extraordinary, like Underwood at Michigan, we aren't even going to have freshmen playing for the Power 4 schools.
And you know, if you ask Jed Stugart over at Lindenwood if he's okay with that, the first reaction is probably no, I want my players to stay with me and win a national championship or at least win a conference championship. But you know what this could do for Jed Stugart is if he is able to develop, like you say, and he is able to spit people out to those Power 4s, he will then be a coach in the Power 4.
And coach, make sure that when you sign those guys to NIL deals, that there's a buyout like Eli Drinkwitz has. Get some money for your school when these players leave. The Cardinals are positioning themselves in a powerful spot from a payroll perspective. For 2026, their payroll features just one player making more than $6 million. That's Dustin May. And by 2027, their guaranteed payroll without pre-arbitration and arbitration players is only $13.5 million. That'll rise to about $42 million, even with projected arbitration estimates. That's not just flexibility, that's a clean runway. And with a looming CBA expiration and a potential lockout on the horizon, Cardinals are in a good payroll ballpark with the books essentially wiped clean after the season. If they want to raise the payroll and if they want to give extensions once there is cost certainty in place after 2027, they'll have a lot of room to do so.
I love this for Chaim Bloom because he gets to do that with everybody of roughly the same age. It's not like you have to worry about, hey, this player is 29 years old and he's going to be due it next year and then I'll wait maybe 3 years for Weatherholt or 2 years for Wynn, whatever it might be. No, all of them are going to come up at the same time. So you're going to know who to give big money to, and then by that point you should say, hey, this team's really good.
Huge questions, though, for the Cardinals in terms of revenue generation, right? Because they don't know who their TV partner is going to be. They've lost 1.1 million fans over 3 seasons. That's about $60 million. $50 a fan for a million. That's $50 million right there. And Jeff Passan reported that the Giants are pursuing both Nico Horner from the Cubs and Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals, that'd take another nearly $6 million player off the Cardinal payroll.
And then Bob Nightingale came out and said, nope, Horner not going to go to the Giants, which means Brendan Donovan all of a sudden becomes the best infielder available. The Cardinals can get a lot back in return. And if there's a bidding war, because we know Seattle's connected and has been connected for a while, say the Giants hop into the mix and then maybe another team or two, you're going to get a great return for another all-star player.
I know Tony Vitello loves Brendan Donovan. I don't think the Giants have what it takes to get him. I don't think the Giants could overwhelm the Cardinals in a deal for Brendan Donovan.
And you have to send the right prospects. So that's really what it ends up being.
Those are your quick hits here in the fight. Coming up, we're going to talk to our buddy MLB Network's Greg Amsinger right here in studio, here on Matrix Midwest. A great Friday night at Lindenwood University Scheidegger Theater, and our friend, look who's here, Greg Amsinger.
I'll clap for him.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Back in his hometown, and he's heading back to his alma mater, Lindenwood University, for the inaugural Amsinger Speaker Series. And first of all, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for having me. To be here, I interact with you every week. I need a raging fire behind me.
That is true.
You know what I mean? It's kind of odd I don't have that.
True.
But it is cool. I love your digs. It's cool to hang out and actually chat in person. I'm excited for tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great. And for those that have not heard at length, Chaim Bloom, and he'll be joined by Ollie Marmol, the Cardinal manager. It'll be fun, and I'm sure a really compelling and informative evening.
You know what? I asked him, can you do something to like build up some momentum for this? So he traded Nolan Arenado, which I thought was really cool. He did me a solid, you know what I mean? Yeah. So people want to hear what went into that deal. I've been texting with Nolan, and he's extremely excited. I'm happy for both parties here because it was something that had to be done. This is a movement. It's all young guys, and Nolan just didn't fit it. I'm happy that he's at a place that fits him, and now the Cardinals can give these young guys an opportunity.
You have a lot of friends in St. Louis, and you text with them, you talk to them on a regular basis. I think Andrew is one of these guys that had trouble coming to grips with where the Cardinals are. In my lifetime, this has never happened. You see it because there's 30 teams, and about half of them have been through it. Kind of explain where the Cardinals are right now and where you think they're headed.
I think it's a competitive team. Everyone rolls their eyes when I say that. But they moved the big money off the books finally. You know, Contreras and Sonny Gray, Michaelis a free agent, he's gone. Nolan Arenado, they're all off the roster now. But they're coming off the roster at a time where so many younger players have dirt in their spikes now. So this isn't what we've seen the Miami Marlins do, or way back when the Houston Astros had one exciting second baseman named Jose Altuve, and they were losing over 100 games back-to-back years. This isn't that. So they're reloading. Now, I don't think this is a rebuild. I don't foresee a 90-loss season. I think this team's going to be playing competitive baseball in the month of September. Dare I say buyers? They might tinker. Are they going to go get a big-time bat? Is Corey Seager, who I think will be traded at some point this upcoming season, is he going to be the guy? No, but I think the Cardinals have a chance in that division to be competitive. So I'm not buying this. Here we go, folks, get ready for 100 losses. I don't see it that way.
Well, and to Randy's point, because he's absolutely right, I grew up in a Cardinals generation where they weren't bad. They have never really been bad. I've been very spoiled. Yeah. We could easily be the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like kids today, can you imagine being a kid in Pittsburgh and trying to cheer on the Pittsburgh Pirates over the last like 5 or 6 years? Like that's a hard thing to do. So yes, I am agreeing with the fact that, hey, it's really hard to look at this team and be like, wow, let's get excited about this season.
What bothers me though is I have so many friends, my personal friends, I have a lot of them. They're like, well, if we can't win the World Series, I'm not interested.
I'm not that far gone.
So then I ask my friends this question. You have kids, right? So if you know little Billy can't win the state championship in wrestling, you're not going to go watch him compete in any of his matches? Where's the word love has loyalty involved in it. If you love Cardinal baseball, then come support them. And that's one of the things I want to talk about tomorrow night. It is so important the impact a fan base has on what an organization can do. If you support them, especially during a time like this, now all of a sudden, they can tinker. They might tinker at the deadline. Whereas if there are 10,000 people sitting in the stadium, then they don't have the funds to do that. It's a whole new revenue stream in Major League Baseball. Supporting the Cardinals is so important. I wish I lived here to go do it more than I do. And it's something that I'm going to drive home. I'm going to consistently drive that home, that you got to support the team you love, just like you would support your children at their sporting events.
Even though the Cardinals got Jack Martinez, who wasn't in Arizona's top 30 prospects, out of this deal, and they gave a lot of money to the Diamondbacks to pay Nolan Arenado, I think the Cardinals got out of it exactly what they needed to get out of it. I thought the trade, and I know a lot of people at the Athletic gave him a B-, C+. I thought it was an A+. I thought the Cardinals did exactly what they needed to do.
Could not agree with you more. The fact they got $14 million of that remaining 2 years back, $14 million, are you kidding me? And then another kid that I don't care what the rankings say, it's swing and miss stuff that he likes. A tall, projectable pitcher, and what Chaim Bloom is doing is he's recognizing he's not going to outslug anyone anytime soon. And baseball is groupthink. So everyone wants exit velo, launch angle, slug, on base. So if everyone wants something, the price of poker goes up for that product. So why don't you go in a different direction and just stockpile arms? And if one of them pops, ask the Detroit Tigers what that looks like.
Yeah.
If one of them pops, if one of them becomes a star ace, all of a sudden it changes the way that organization looks. Tarek Skubal makes that team the best team in that division, and also makes them a team you don't want to face in the postseason because he exists. So if you continue to go accumulate projectable swing and miss arms, the chances of turning this thing around quicker than you think.
So when you look at the infield now with Arenado gone, because I think it's pretty easy that you could say it's Gorman at third, Wynn at short, Weatherholt at second base. But there's a lot of fans and other listeners that push back on that, saying Sajaci should be at third, Herrera should be back at full-time catcher, even though Randy and I think we believe he should either be at first base or the outfield, maybe primary DH. How do you look at this infield today? What will it look like on opening day?
I think you make a good point. I think Gorman's going to get the first crack at being the everyday third baseman. They just want to see what that looks like for a full season. He psychologically wants to see that. He likes that position the most. And it was a very difficult thing to put him at second base and not give him regular run at any one spot. I push back on the Herrera not being a catcher thing. They believe, especially with the elbow injury getting fixed, they think he can do it. And they like his relationship with the pitchers. They liked his IQ for the game and calling pitches in the right moment. They do like his hands. Look, base stealing is an issue, but because of the new rules, how much can you control it anyway? There are only a handful of teams that are good at it. Yep. So to take a bat that gives you a statistical offensive advantage when you know you're not going to set any offensive records, if you take a bat that can produce behind the plate at an above average level, that gives you some sort of an advantage in your lineup and an opportunity for someone else to DH or play first base. So I think Herrera is going to get a full run in spring to be the catcher. I like Sajaci a lot, but I think Weatherholt's probably going to be the front runner at second. And then from there, I think it's going to be a competitive race in the outfield to see who gets consistent at-bats, but they're going to start to have an image, and I hope it's more athletic. I hope it's a little bit of small ball. I'm hearing Victor Scott is working on bunting, which makes me very excited, and I want to see this team put the ball in play and run when they get on base, try to manufacture some runs.
Here are my thoughts about Herrera. Number one, the Cardinals minor league player of the year, not one of their catchers of the year, the minor league player of the year in 2024 is Jimmy Crooks, who's going to be here this year. The Gold Glove winner among catchers of all major leaguers, Leonardo Bernal. They have a switch hitter in Bernal, and then they have another hitter, Rynel Rodriguez, who's on his way. I just don't see Ivan Herrera being the best of those guys, and he's athletic enough to be a good first baseman or a good left fielder.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's taking young players and making them assets.
Yep.
So just because young players are, they don't have a major contract extension attached to them, doesn't mean that they're unmovable pieces. So if you can prove to the other 29 organizations that Ivan Herrera, who, by the way, was the only Cardinal in the top 100 players right now on MLB Network, by the way, surprised a lot of people, all of a sudden, that's a movable piece. If he can prove that he's a catcher, that can hit like this, that can get on base, that grinds out this many quality at-bats. Now, if you like the young guys that are, and you look at Adley Rutschman, the Baltimore Orioles are hoping he comes out guns a-blazing so they can move him. They're going to move him because they just locked up their catcher of the future. They got another kid in the minor leagues. They drafted, their last draft was 2 catchers. So they don't look at him as a long-term answer. At this stage of the game, and Heim knows this, you have to make sure you're maximizing value for all of the players that are in your big league roster, because it's not set in stone that they're all going to be with you the next 3 years.
And by the way, Dale Murphy started out as a catcher.
Yes.
Craig Biggio started out as a catcher.
Bryce Harper.
There you go.
Yes, a lot of guys were catchers.
So they can't be
Jason
moved.
Worth. You could play a game
Your
with
favorite
this.
guy?
My favorite guy, Jason Worth, the bearded one. Yes, absolutely. A lot of guys started out as catchers, you know?
Right.
Well, isn't it funny how we didn't even mention Donovan, though, at all? Is it because we just know he's going to be playing for somebody else?
I mean, look, Heim did me a solid for trading Nolan Arenado. He might be my best friend ever if he trades Brendan Donovan. Before tomorrow night at 6 p.m. where the cocktail hour starts at the Scheidegger Center. We'll be on stage at 7 o'clock. Brendan Donovan is the most courted guy, and I think moving Arenado was imperative, and this is another reason why it was an A+. That messes with the negotiation of trading Brendan Donovan. When they know he's like hamstrung with Nolan Arenado on the roster, the other clubs know that. But now Arenado's gone, it gives him so much more flexibility to go, you know what, we'll have another season with Brendan Donovan. Yeah. We'll have another season with Brendan Donovan. Because when they know you need to get people off the books, you need to start accumulating talent, it changes the whole leverage game. So I think Arenado being gone just accelerates the Brendan Donovan sweepstakes. He's going to get traded.
All right, you mentioned Yelich in his comeback year. We know you love Elly De La Cruz.
I love him.
But Cardinals, Cubs, Pirates, Brewers, Reds. Is Alex Bregman the best player in the division right now?
No.
Who is?
I mean, best player in the division?
I think he is.
Well, look, you know what's funny? The thing that hurt Alex Bregman, and he got a nice contract.
Yeah.
He would have gotten more if he never would have come off the IL.
That's a good point. Yep.
The image of him in Boston when he went on the IL was, wow, he's the captain, perfect for Boston. You know, they have to sign him right now. And they moved Devers off, and he won him over. But then when he came back, he had moments where he looked like an aging superstar. Now, the Cubs won him for his leadership. Matt Shaw was not good defensively at third base, so now he's going to fix that. I don't see him as the best player in the division. I mean,
is it still De La Cruz then?
What's the criteria of this game? I love a good game.
Can it be
Is
Paul
this like that?
Skeens?
Is this like the? Is this the top 100 right now?
Yeah,
because Paul
we're
Skeens is the best player in the division.
Yeah, position player I was going with.
Position player. Look, Elly De La Cruz is one of the top 5 most talented baseball players in the world.
He's unbelievable.
But
talent and player are 2 different things.
Sure. I'll say this. Nick Kurtz, we're going to find out where he is on our list. He, to me, is one of the top 10
Such a beast.
players in baseball because he does something that no one else can do. Hit for power to all fields, doesn't, hits for average. Elly De La Cruz, look, Juan Soto got $765 million. Is he a switch hitter? No. Is he an unbelievable base runner? He stole 30 bases, but he doesn't have the speed of Elly De La Cruz. Is his exit velocity at the same as Elly? No. Does he have a throwing arm like Elly De La Cruz? No. Does he speak 3 or 4 languages fluently? No. Do you know Elly De La Cruz speaks Japanese fluently? Well, he's brilliant. Elly De La Cruz, if he puts it together, if Juan Soto is $765 million, if the landscape financially in Major League Baseball doesn't change, when this guy's ready, if he pops for 50-50 season, you could be looking at $1 billion baseball player.
Yeah.
It could be Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember I said that.
Well, then, to follow up quickly here on Randy's point, you mentioned coming off the IL with Bregman and hurting him. You look at Kyle Tucker, and it looks like it's just going to benefit him, even though he had a terrible second half of the season.
Well, it was the injury that everyone's pointing to. But, there are, I think, like an image issue with Kyle Tucker. And the worst thing that happened to Kyle Tucker was, and I don't know why it's connected this way, but guys that have these low, slow motor, and then they're consistent, but aren't these tail-wagging beasts that run through walls and scream after they hit a home run. People immediately start to worry, is this the next Anthony Rendon? Anthony Rendon has scared so many teams because that contract was such a disaster. A guy that openly came out and said baseball's a job. He doesn't really love it. Kyle Tucker, older brother, played in the big leagues for a little bit. I think loves the game, but doesn't have one of these gigantic personalities. So I think that's why you're seeing the reports of the Mets going for a shorter term deal with a higher AAV, because they don't want someone that doesn't absolutely love the game on the payroll for 10 years. So, unfortunately, the way you act, body language matters when it comes to free agency. And we'll see how it affects Kyle Tucker.
You can get tickets for Greg at Lindenwood at the Scheidegger Center at luboxoffice.com. You need to check that out. About 30 seconds. What would 15-year-old Greg have thought of you doing what you're doing this weekend? Being involved with the Cardinals. The Cardinals love you. You're going to be down at the winter warm-up doing some stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there Saturday. I mean, I couldn't imagine what little Greggy Goo Goo, that was my nickname when I was a kid. I couldn't imagine what little Greggy Goo Goo would have said to this. It's an incredible thing. I think I'm well suited for MLB Network because I fell in love with Cardinal baseball. I love baseball because of Cardinal baseball. And I wouldn't be the broadcaster that I am if I didn't go to this incredible blank canvas playground for creativity like Lindenwood. So it all worked out. It's a dream come true.
Turn around.
Yeah, check it out.
Thank you. I need a fire over my shoulder when I'm on this show.
One of my
absolutely
favorite
true.
segments on MLB Network this offseason has been the hot seat, which is pretty cool.
That's a good one, yes. I try to come up with good ones for you.
You're the best, brother.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
That is
Appreciate
the
you, man.
one, the only Greg Amsinger again at Lindenwood on Saturday, or on Friday night, rather. Tickets available at luboxoffice.com. And we're Greg with Greg every Thursday and Friday from MLB Network. He's sponsored by St. Luke's, top-notch doctors in everything from heart health, orthopedics, and more. Visit stlukes-stl.com today. Coming up in our list, our most exciting NFL divisional games ever in the fight. It's time for the list, and with divisional weekend upon us, Andrew and I are going to give you our best divisional weekend games ever. And I'm going to start, Andrew, with the 1977 playoffs, December 24th, 1977, one of the great games of all time. We talked about this right around Christmas time. Goes to the post. The Raiders down 3 at Baltimore in the final minute. Ken Stabler is the quarterback, and he throws a pass that seems uncatchable to his tight end, Dave Casper, a.k.a. the Ghost. Casper, the friendly ghost, right? The 42-yard pass play that he made this incredible catch on sets up a field goal that sent this divisional game into overtime and sent the Raiders to the AFC Championship game, which they won, and they wound up going to the Super Bowl because of this catch and beating the Vikings in the Super Bowl after the 1977 season. What an amazing catch. Stabler hit Casper again, this time in overtime, in the end zone for the 37-31 Raider win over the Colts. And Oakland, as we mentioned, would win their first title.
Let me tell you, I love two things about this show. The first is, well, I guess I love three things about the show. On This Date, The List, and Story Time with Uncle Randy, because it becomes education for me. These are moments that I did not get to live. And so by watching them back and hearing you talk about them, it feels like, one, that I was able to live this game out. And two, the other thing about this game, because I like to do a little bit of research coming into a lot of these highlights, I found out it was the 5th longest game in NFL history. How amazing is that?
Yeah, and just a wild game, and I know you're going to talk later about a game with a lot of back and forth. This game had a lot of back and forth as well. And by the way, if you're interested in learning something, my next one's really good.
All right. Well, let's start with this before we get there. The 2020 AFC Divisional Playoffs saw the Kansas City Chiefs pull off one of the greatest comebacks in playoff history. As you can see, this game's already 24-0 in favor of Houston, and it's just the second quarter. Because Houston capitalized on all of the Chiefs' miscues, a blocked punt, a fumble, blown coverage on Kenny Stills' 54-yard touchdown. But when there's time on the clock, we know we can never count out Patrick Mahomes. He took over. He threw 5 touchdown passes, ran for 53 yards, while Travis Kelce and Damian Williams each scored 3 times. The Chiefs outscored the Texans 41-0 at one point in quarters 2 and 3. The 41 consecutive points were the most since the Jets had the same in the 2002 wild card round against the Colts. That comeback, so unprecedented, but completely believable, knowing what we know now 6 years later.
Yeah, and I even had the feeling when Houston was up that Kansas City was going to come back. Now, did I know they were going to blow them out? No, it wound up being a blowout, but you kind of had a feeling just because it was Mahomes and Kelce and that gang that, yeah, they can beat Houston because they were just clearly the better team.
When Deshaun Watson was good too, right? When he was in Houston. He was good.
Yeah, he was really good. He led the league in passing yards.
I know, he actually was good. We're not actually being sarcastic about that.
All right, Andrew, what do they call a play that is a long pass that is caught in the end zone at the end of the game with the clock winding down? What do they call that?
Let me say a prayer, maybe the Hail Mary.
Here we go. The very first Hail Mary came in 1975. Cowboys 17, Vikings 14, two of the dominant teams of the decade, and the Cowboys and the Vikings meet at venerable Metropolitan Stadium. Brent McClanahan goes over from the 1 midway through the 4th to put the Vikes ahead 14-10. But the Cowboys get the ball late, and the very religious Roger Staubach drives the Cowboys to midfield in the final minute. And Staubach looking. There's Drew Pearson, number 88, down the right side, and high and deep as far as he can throw it. And Pearson, who may or may not have pushed off for the touchdown, gives the Cowboys the winning touchdown here with less than a minute to go. Now, before this game, this was just known as a pass into the end zone, a big game winner. But we mentioned that Staubach was religious. He told reporters that he closed his eyes and prayed a Hail Mary, and the name of a play was born.
How about that? I think you saw my reaction whenever he caught that touchdown. I was shocked. I'm like, wait a second, how is that a touchdown? He totally shoved the DB. But you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you got one of the greatest post-game clips ever by hearing Staubach say, hey, I said a quick little Hail Mary while that ball was traveling through the air.
Yeah. Okay, your next one is unbelievable.
Yes.
What a great game this was.
Yes, it was. The 2012 AFC Divisional Playoff, a thrilling matchup between the top-seeded Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning, and the Baltimore Ravens. The teams were tied at 14 after the first quarter, 21 after halftime, 28 after 3 quarters, and 35 all at the end of regulation. And here's how they ended up in overtime. With seconds left in the fourth quarter, trailing by 7. Maybe Flacco said a Hail Mary here, too. He launched a 70-yard bomb to Jacoby Jones, who somehow just makes a play when defenders fall down. And, yes, he strides into the end zone. That tied the game and forced overtime. And then after a tense first overtime, nobody scored. So you have to go to a second overtime to get this. Justin Tucker's game-winning field goal. 38-35, Baltimore wins, and this was more or less the unthinkable for the Broncos, who came in on an 11-game winning streak, the odds-on favorite at 3-1 to win the Super Bowl, and it was all going to happen in Manning's hometown of New Orleans, nonetheless.
How does Jacoby Jones get behind the Denver defense for that play? That is just unbelievable to me. And, oh, by the way, in Week 17 of this season, Chicago and San Francisco, the first regular season game, you remember Mike Tirico talking about it, that was tied 7-7, 14-14, 21-21, 28-28, 35-35. The reason that he said regular season is because this was the first and before that only game to be tied at all of those benchmarks during the course of a contest.
Yeah, the other point to your Jacoby Jones take there. Every DB should watch this play and say, this is why you don't go for an interception.
Yeah.
This is why you just defend your player and knock it down. They had to go so far down the field to score a touchdown. Just play good defense. Don't be a hero.
All right, in this segment, we love Hail Marys, apparently. My number one, January of 2016, the double Hail Mary game. Arizona gets a field goal with 1:55 left to take a 20-13 lead over the Packers in Glendale, Arizona. But it's prime Aaron Rodgers in the divisional playoffs that they're going against. After the field goal, the Packers have to start deep in their own territory, and a Rodgers sack and an incompletion force 4th and 20 from their own 3-yard line with 55 seconds left. And Rodgers, how about this? Rolling to his left. The right-hand throwing Rodgers rolling to his left, and holy cow, 61 yards. Jeff Janis, a Hail Mary out of the end zone. But still a long way to go after this play to Janis. And I'll tell you what, Rodgers was the best maybe ever at the Hail Mary. And Green Bay still needs a touchdown. Packers try to spike the ball, don't get set. A penalty is called, 12 seconds left at incompletion. And then 5 seconds left from the 41-yard line to Janis again.
What a play.
Wow, 2 Hail Marys in the same drive. The game goes to OT, tied at 20. After that incredible performance by Aaron Rodgers. But Carson Palmer hit Larry Fitzgerald for a 75-yard gain on the first play of overtime, then a 5-yard touchdown pass on a shovel pass from Palmer to Fitzgerald to win it in OT 26-20, and saved the Cardinal defense's bacon.
Yeah, unbelievable. You mentioned probably the best ever, convert the Hail Mary. I have to sadly agree after watching that a whole bunch over my fandom in the NFC North. And number two, it's amazing how the Cardinals were able to survive this.
Yeah.
Because those two moments are the killers. You go into overtime and you just basically tell yourselves, we don't have the momentum, we're not winning. But what a good job by Arizona to just give Green Bay a taste of their own medicine and have Larry Fitz do the job.
Yeah, 4th and 20 from your own 3-yard line and a 61-yard pass. It really was a prayer. And then from the 41 with no time on the clock. And Jeff Janis, for both of them, unbelievable.
Yeah, Jeff Janis, the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right.
All right, my number one. The 2014 NFC Divisional Playoff between the Packers and the Cowboys. It will forever be remembered for one of the moments that still sparks debate a decade later. The overturned Dez Bryant catch. So late in the fourth quarter, with Dallas driving, facing 4th and 2, Tony Romo sends a deep ball to Bryant along the sideline. Dez went up, took multiple steps, secured the football, lunged for the goal line before the ball came loose as it hit the ground. Officials initially ruled it a catch, but after review, it was overturned under the NFL's then existing process of the catch rule, which required the receiver to maintain control through contact with the ground. That decision effectively ended Dallas's comeback bid, sent Green Bay to the NFC Championship game, and directly influenced the league's eventual rewrite of what constitutes a catch, turning one of the most controversial rulings in playoff history into a defining moment in NFL rules evolution.
There's no way that was a catch. There's absolutely no way that the Cowboys got the catch there. And the rule was enforced properly. And one of the NFL rules apparently now is that the Cowboys don't go to NFC Championship games anymore. So I was fine with that play call and the job by the officials. I thought it was a stellar job by the officials.
I don't even know if it's the NFL's ruling on them not getting to the NFC Championship. It might be their own owners.
Yeah. Yep.
Willingness to avoid playing in that football game.
That's the list. Our favorite division championship moments ever. Coming up, we're going to build a parlay and get into some risky business here in the fight. Hey, it was a while ago at this time of year that I had to have my quadruple bypass surgery at St. Luke's, and I have felt great ever since 2012. We're coming up on 14 years, and the job that they did for me in keeping me alive and allowing me to be a productive member of society was astounding. And I couldn't be more proud of the fact that I have an association with St. Luke's now, because when Dr. Morton Rinder discovered that I had the problem, it was just an abnormality in my heart. And he said, hey, we got to go in and do bypass. And then Dr. Cordy Cordes, who is retired now, did a magnificent job with my surgery. And then the rehab was amazing. The rehab folks at St. Luke's are as good as it gets, and they got me back to being 100% again. If you ever have an issue, and especially when it's as cold as it is now, if you ever have a feeling in your chest, like, okay, it's a burning sensation, or it just doesn't feel right, get to a doctor at St. Luke's. Their cardiologists are the best in the business, and if you do have a problem, their surgeons are the best in the business. All you need to do is give them a call, find a cardiologist, ask for Dr. Morton Rinder, and they'll take care of you. 314-205-6801, or go to stlukes-stl.com. All right, time for us to build a parlay here in the fight, and if Andrew's not going to do it, I will. The Rams are playing at Chicago. It's going to be like 10 degrees. Yep. Rams are not going to play well in the cold weather. The Bears are. And even if the game is close in the last 2 minutes, you know who's going to win, right? It's going to be this year's Chicago Bears. They're plus 164 on the money line. I like that bet a lot. So, and how about that? The way the
blows my mind still.
Minus 198 for the Rams, ain't gonna happen.
Blows my mind. I love the double down. Okay, here's mine for you, Randy. I did a ton of research for this play. So if you could just kind of give me a little taste of the Seattle and 49ers game. Okay, here's my research. Seattle on 14 days rest, 49ers on 6 days rest. According to the NFL, teams to have a big rest window have the advantage going into the playoff matchup. They're 7-0 and straight up since 1984. But the 49ers are 7.5-point underdogs. And the Seahawks, even though they have the largest spread of the divisional round, the 49ers, as underdogs in playoff history, won 2 of the 3 games that they've played in. Guess what? They haven't played in that 3rd game yet. So you know what? They will cover again, even if, hey, the Seahawks could win straight up. No value there, but the other stat gives you a ton of value up there.
I like it. Way to do the research.
All
Nice.
right.
So, we're at plus 422 on this
payout.
one.
I'll take $500 on Sunday. What do you think?
522.82. That's a nice payout. All right. That's building a parlay, and that's risky business. Here in the fight. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It and Story Time with Uncle Randy next. All right, time now for Take It or Leave It. And Andrew, Adrian Stubbs, a guard at Phoenix, Arizona Maryvale High School, became the first player in Arizona high school basketball history to score 100 points in a game with his historic effort in a 109-25 victory over Yuma. The team scored 109, he had 100. He scored 70 points in the first half, added 30 in the 3rd quarter before sitting for the entire 4th period. Now, Stubbs is an unranked recruit in the 2026 class. His only scholarship offers to date are from junior colleges, and he scored a season game high, career high in a game, 24. So take it or leave it. One game of shooting like this should have Dennis Gates texting him immediately.
All right, I'm going to take it, and I'll explain myself here. One, it's not an easy thing to do, even if you're just an average player, to score 100 points.
Even
Like, you have to be
if nobody's
good.
defending you.
Right.
So,
Right. And so that means it's a little bit of, hey, he's a pretty talented guy, and he shouldn't just be getting JUCO offers. And number 2, why are we scheduling that game?
Yeah, really.
Why are we
point.
scheduling this game in high school, guys?
Yeah,
Come on.
109-25. Yeah, not
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
100 points. So the other team, the rest of the team scored 9?
Yeah.
And he didn't play the 4th quarter?
He didn't play the 4th quarter.
So he is their team.
He was hot.
He is their whole team.
Yeah.
If you can't score more than 9 in the 4th quarter in a game like that. Okay.
Congratulations to Adrian Stubbs, by the way.
Randy, TNT is extending analyst Paul Bissonnette, Biz, to continue its NHL coverage, okay? So now he will be a member of what every high-profile sport really has, a really fun comedic name at the desk, right? Biz, you have McAfee, NBA has Barkley, and baseball has Big Papi, and they might still be upgrading from there. But take it or leave it. Out of that group of comedians on set, Charles Barkley is the best of the bunch.
Oh, it's not even close. Let's give him like 3 check marks here. Yeah, it's not even close. He's far and away number 1.
I think he is the funniest guy on set. I think Pat McAfee is the most compelling guy on set, which is the difference here between the prompts.
Yeah, former punter from West Virginia is the most compelling guy.
Yeah, I think so. Toward all of the young generation, it's got to be him, right?
Yep, that's Tioli. Now it's time for Story Time with Uncle Randy, and we're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to come up with a story for you. And it's going to be a story from the 2010s, 2010 to 2019. And we're going to do a little hockey.
Get the baseball. Get your
2010
baseball.
to 2019.
Oh, we stayed with hockey.
We stayed with hockey. Okay, 2010 to 2019 hockey. Let's do it. Oh, you know what's kind of, well, it's not sad, but 2016 was the last game that David Backes ever played with the St. Louis Blues in San Jose playoff series. It was the conference finals. The Blues thought they had a really good chance, and they wind up going to San Jose, losing Game 6. And David Backes, he knew that he wasn't going to be back with the team, so he cried when he was getting ready to leave. But there's 2 points to be made here. Number 1, I thought that the Blues were going to win, being backstopped by Brian Elliott, who had some of the great seasons and runs in Blues history, and he was great in that run. So, like in May of that year, we got a new dog, and Brian Elliott's nickname is Moose, so we named the dog Moose. He was a great dog. He was terrific. But also, David Backes had been such an integral part of the Blues from the time he came here after the lockout until he left in 2016. And he was a guy that invested himself in the St. Louis community. But speaking of dogs, he was heavily involved with several shelters here in the area. Just a great St. Louisan and a great St. Louis Blue. And then 3 years later, after he plays his last game with the Blues, he signed with Boston and he plays in the Stanley Cup Finals against the St. Louis Blues. And one of his great friends, Alex Pietrangelo, called him a Buffalo head. But I just find it really sad that a guy who spent so much time and effort and really blood, sweat, and tears being a member of the Blues had to watch them win their Stanley Cup from the press box of the team that he was then playing for in 2019. A great St. Louis Blue, and that series was a bummer that David Backes had to go out that way.
Yeah, David Backes, first ever jersey that I owned. And are you a judge of people that wear jerseys? Like, do you think that it's weird that grown men wear other grown men's jerseys?
Fine. No.
I don't think so either. And I worked with a lot of people up in Omaha, which is why I moved back to work here with Randy, because I knew he wouldn't judge me for wearing jerseys. They would judge me all the time for wearing jerseys of other, what they would say, grown men. How's that weird?
Well, you know what? I just got to go to Nebraska and get my number 1 Lawrence Phillips jersey going, and see if
anybody judges you.
See if they judge me. Yeah.
Amen to that.
So here we go. Here's David Backes against the San Jose Sharks, 2016. And by the way, the Blues that year were only 2 games away from being in the Stanley Cup Finals. That was a really good hockey team that the Blues had in 2016. And I am and forever will be a fan of David Backes.
Absolutely, 100%. And I hope that we can find another David Backes at some point in this organization, someone that plays like him.
Yeah, as Ken Hitchcock said, he drags people into the fight, and the Blues need somebody to drag other players into the fight and compete to that level. All right, time for this date in sports history, and here's another one for you. 1967, Super Bowl I at the LA Memorial Coliseum in LA. Green Bay beats Kansas City 35-10. And here you got number 85, Max McGee, catching a pass from Bart Starr. Now, the story about Max McGee is he had to enter the game because of an injury to wide receiver Boyd Dowler. There he is, number 85, Max McGee. But McGee didn't think he was going to play at all in the Super Bowl, so he went out on the town in L.A., drinking late into the night before. So he's playing with a hangover here. And he turned in a superb performance, and Bart Starr said he knew that McGee was going to play well. I don't know how he knew that, because all of the other teammates knew that he was hungover, but he was great. Bart Starr named the MVP of Super Bowl I. By the way, tickets for the Super Bowl, $12. Attendance in the 100,000-seat LA Coliseum, 62,000. So you had 38,000 empty seats for Super Bowl I. My, how times have changed.
You know what? All of what the NFL should do is raffle off a $12 ticket every year in honor of Super Bowl I to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose that much money by getting one $12 ticket.
My first Super Bowl that I attended, I bought tickets for my dad for Christmas. It was your Chicago Bears against the New England Patriots. It was Super Bowl 20 in New Orleans. Face price, $20 or $50 for Super Bowl 20. Then the next year it was $65, and then by the time we got the Rams, it was $1,000.
And now it's like what, $5,000?
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, $50 40 years ago. That's pretty amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah. Hey, again, if you saw our segment with Greg Amsinger and you didn't get what you have to do to go watch Greg Amsinger on Friday night at the Scheidegger Center at Lindenwood, it's luboxoffice.com. You can get tickets there. Of course, you can always see us here at 5 p.m., 10 p.m., and again at 7 a.m. You can see us on the new Matrix Midwest app. You can see us on the KMOV app and at matrixmidwest.com, where you can sign up to participate in the fight. Just go to the drop-down with Carricker and Company and go to the fight, and we would love to have you participate and see if you can stop my streak next week in the fight.
And I'm so excited for that Greg Amsinger event. I know Randy is too. Come see us. Come say hi as much as you want to listen to those guys.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hey, we want you to know that we will be with you every single day, and we love talking sports with you. Thanks for being a part of it this time. Thanks for tuning in. For Andrew Rogers and our outstanding director, Tyler Klaus, I'm Randy Carricker, and we will see you next time right here in The Fight.